At Direct Service Overhead, we know how much trust you put in the individuals who have the privilege of working on the components of your home. We understand that a broken garage door is the last thing you want to be worried about, and most of the time, doors break at the most inconvenient times. Our professionally trained technicians service 24 hours a day, and our high-cycle parts are guaranteed to make a noticeable impact on your garage door without putting a damper on your wallet. If you're looking for need of assistance maintaining your current garage door, our team has the experience and expertise to deliver the results you deserve. Give Direct Service Overhead a call today or visit us online to learn more.
All right. What's going on, everybody? Let's get that fixed. There we go. Hopefully you guys can hear us. This is not recorded. Last time I had Mr. Stephen Hamner on from QB Spotlight, it was recorded. This time it's not. It's live. So welcome to everybody who's in chat. Remember to like the stream, share the content, and subscribe if you haven't already. You guys know Stephen Hamner from QB Spotlight. He recently put out a really good video. I got a chance to catch it yesterday, talking about Malachi Singleton. So we're going to discuss Malachi Singleton. We're going to talk about how Steven sees him as someone who could fit in Kendall Browse's offense. For way more in depth, be sure and go check out his latest video on Malachi. We're also going to talk a little bit about Treylon Burks. Is Treylon Burks, is he first round material according to Stephen Hamner, and where he thinks he might fit? You know, we'll kind of go over some of that stuff as well. And then KJ Jefferson, which will actually be the second part of this. KJ Jefferson, how good is he? Is he a Heisman candidate? Is he not? Does he make Stephen Hamner's short list for some of the best quarterbacks in the country? I think we kind of already know the answer to some of that, but I'm curious what he has to say about KJ being a Heisman candidate. So without further ado, Mr. Hamner, how you doing, my friend?
Ty, doing good, brother. Thanks for having me on again, man. It's always fun to talk shop, and all the Marco Polos we send back and forth. Now we finally get to kind of do it in public a little bit. So, yeah, it's fun, man. I'm happy to jump on and kind of be indoctrinated into like the Arkansas fan base, if you will.
I see you wearing those Razorback shirts or Arkansas shirts when we Marco Polo. Don't think that goes unnoticed.
Hey, I'm still waiting on you to send me like a signed jersey.
Well, yeah, man. Yeah, absolutely. Gonna have to figure something out, make that happen. So if you guys would, there is a tiny delay that Stephen and I are kind of experiencing, just a little bit. So bear with us. We're gonna do the best that we can. Please make sure you share the content. I am unable to share this across social media just because of the restrictions of using this particular app, which is called StreamYard. I'm sure a lot of you probably know what that is. I'm a little limited as to what I can do, but if you guys would share the content, and that would be special. And of course, make sure you go check out QB Spotlight's content, and of course, like the stream. Liking is huge, and so on and so forth. If you guys have any questions for Steven, know that Super Chat will take priority, but if I'll do the best I can, but there's quite a bit here to break down. Montario Knight says he's ready. Scott Swindle says, so I'm ready. Chris G, a regular here. We got some regulars, says, yo. Montario said he already watched your video. He already watched QB Spotlight's video. Mr. T-Dub, what's going on? Patrick Wendell, glad to have you here. He's Montario says you're low-key a Hog fan. You're low-key. You're a Hog fan.
I'll take it.
How you doing? All right. Well, let's go ahead and just start it off. Arkansas loses a commitment, but then they gain one. They gain it in Malachi Singleton, not a unanimous 4-star, but nonetheless, I think a lot of us agree he probably should be a unanimous 4-star. Big time talent out of Kennesaw, Georgia. Arkansas fans ought to be pretty familiar with Kennesaw, Georgia. But Malachi picks the Hogs over a number of schools. And obviously, I think it's a big get. 6'1", 225. I've watched not just his highlights, but of course, like I've mentioned, I've watched QB Spotlight's breakdown as well. Steven, tell us what it is you like about him and how you think he'll fit into Kendall Briles' veer and shoot offense.
Yeah, man. Whenever I first watched Singleton's highlights, he looks like everyone that watches said this, but he looks like a running back that has a rocket for an arm, right? And real quick, just to kind of look behind the curtain, whenever we put out that video, you mentioned that weekend that you had a really strong feeling Singleton was going to commit to Arkansas. You're like 90-something% sure. So went ahead and made that video, but the last second I was thinking, man, damn, if he commits to UCF or whatever, I made that video for no reason, but at least I know about Malachi Singleton. But anyways, going on to the question, someone made a really good comparison about a former Razorback running back, Darren McFadden, being like a Darren McFadden that can throw the ball a little bit, right? Now that's pretty high praise, but I think the fact that he's built such like a true running back, he's able to be used a bit differently than maybe KJ is as a runner. So I think you can have the exact same success, at least potential is there, but the success can be brought upon differently, right? Like he can get to the outside probably a bit easier. He's more of a one cut and go type deal. He probably has a bit more top end speed. He's able to get the top end speed probably a bit differently or a bit quicker than KJ, where KJ doesn't need as much space maybe a Singleton does to get some yards and go downfield. Not that Singleton's not a big guy, but 6'3", 250 that KJ has will do that to you. So overall, I think Singleton is a quarterback that, yeah, he fits the RPO and the veer and shoot offense very good. But looking at quarterbacks, a good breakdown of quarterbacks is a quarterback that can complete passes, not based off play action, not based off RPOs. Those are very quarterback-friendly schemes and it opens up receivers. But a good way to look at quarterbacks is like, what do they do when they drop back, to straight drop back, a straight pass, and how they convert. And I think that's one of his games that's kind of goes overlooked, if you will, because he has those big plays, the big scrambles, the big throws. But I like looking at the plays that have no RPOs, no play actions, and he's still able to push the ball downfield. That's why in that video we talked about him being versatile, and I think he can fit multiple offenses, not just RPO. So yes, he fits the RPO, but the fact that he can fit in what I think in multiple offenses and just that, I think makes him a pretty underrated quarterback, in my opinion, a pretty big get for Arkansas.
Yeah, like you said, he's built, looking at his body type, he's built like a tall running back or an outside linebacker, 6'1", 225. Don't have any clue as to what his official 40 time is. Sometimes those kids, and you know this more than most, Steven, doing what you do, sometimes they just don't have access to run their laser 40 times or they just prefer not to when they go to these camps. But he looks pretty fast, and he looks like he's, to me, and again, I've only seen highlights, and that's all we're going to get. Like, I don't think there's any full game content out there on him, but he looks like he's as willing of a runner as he is a passer. And I think that could be really, really important for Kendall in this offense.
Yeah, I think that last statement pretty much nailed it. Like, why I think KJ is so good in this offense is because I think he's a passer first, and he's been so successful in some of just the passing schemes that really opens up the RPO system. I think you kind of saw that with Malachi as well. And of course, I mean, quarterbacks are their money making down is third down, 3rd and 8, 3rd and 10. No one's falling for a play action or an RPO on 3rd and 8, 3rd and 10. You got to just drop back and sling that thing, right? And so being able to be a passer ultimately is the number one priority as a quarterback. Even if you're good in the RPO and good in the play action, if you can't convert 3rd and 8, 3rd and 10, then you have a ceiling, right? And so I think the fact that Malachi has the ability to not rely on the RPO or rely on the play action is something that's mature for his age, especially when you're running that type of offense in high school.
And I'll say this just to add on to that a little bit. Arkansas didn't take a quarterback in this last class, and according to Otis Kirk, who I had on last week, he said that was there was a reason to that. It was a recruiting angle, and so it was nice to hear that be confirmed. But now there's this gap, right? When he comes in, everybody else, assuming KJ's gone, which I think a lot of us assume that he's probably going to, he's going to leave for the NFL. This will be his redshirt junior season, so he's more than eligible to go to the NFL to try it out. Obviously it's not like the NBA. You can't test the waters, get graded and then come out. Like once you declare you're done once you sign that agent, which is also the same in basketball. But once you declare, you're out the door. So that leaves Malik Hornsby, which there's questions about what's going on with him. If he's gonna, and I think they're probably gonna keep him at quarterback. But if let's say he excels at wide receiver this year, we know there's packages that he's going to be involved in. Maybe they want to keep him there, and maybe he sees the light at the end of the tunnel as maybe that's his career move is to move to wide receiver. Well, then that leaves you with two transfer quarterbacks, and unless I'm forgetting somebody, Lucas Coley hit the transfer portal. He's off to Houston. You don't have anything else outside these other two guys, outside these two transfers. So there's a real possibility that he'll come in as a true freshman and compete to obviously be in the 3 deep, unless they take another, and Otis also confirmed that they probably will, again, depending on what KJ does, probably will dip their toe into the transfer portal a little bit, but there's a real opportunity here for him to come in and crack the 3 deep. And who knows if he's as good as advertised, maybe make his way into the 2 deep, but he's going to have some competition for that. Again, a lot of ifs, ands, or buts moving forward on Malachi, but I'm really excited to see what he could do. Hopefully he signs. Of course, we got to get to that point first. Mid-December, which is now basically just your regular signing period. I don't even call it early signing period anymore. It's your regular signing period. DC wants to know what you think his accuracy. What is his accuracy level?
From the film I've watched, pretty accurate, but again, with a grain of salt, it's just the highlights, right? But his, I think he had 24 touchdowns and 3 picks last year. So that also is probably telling that he's probably more accurate than he is inaccurate. So I don't remember his completion percentage statistically that comes to mind, but from the highlights we watch, he looks pretty accurate, and he looks like he's able to throw his receivers open, which we actually kind of went into some detail on that in the breakdown video that we did. Ty, you might have those numbers up in front of you. You might know by heart, so I'll let you kind of take over. But
yeah, well, what I have is Singleton threw for 3,967 yards, 39 touchdowns in the last 2 seasons, and added 2,100 rushing yards, 42 touchdowns on the ground. And he's ranked the number 24 quarterback in the nation, according to 247 Composite, led North Cobb to back-to-back regional titles. So that's what I have on him. Monterio saying 70%. So, yeah. Jacob H says we really need more depth at running back. Man, I don't know about that. They're pretty deep at running back. I mean, even with Treylon Smith out, Dominic Johnson, Rocket Sanders, AJ Green, you've got, I always mess up his name, Dubinion, freshman. I think Javion Hunt is still here, and I know I'm forgetting somebody, Joyner, out of Little Rock. I think they're pretty solidified at halfback. And look, there's probably going to be some movement at running back. You probably could see someone, if they really are panicking at wide receiver and they're really kind of, tearing the hair out of their heads, then maybe I could see them moving somebody like AJ Green, remember, who played wide receiver in high school, and so did Rocket. I could see them possibly moving somebody out to wide receiver, but they're solidified at running back. I would argue that's one of the most in-depth, at any position, they are deep at running back. And if, God forbid, you pile up a couple of injuries, you still feel pretty confident in what they have. Dominic Johnson, who's been nursing some stuff during the offseason, he's had I forget what it is. I think it might have been it was a lower body thing that he was dealing with. I had that up in front of me a while back when I was discussing him during spring camp, and I don't have it pulled up in front of me at the moment. But yeah, they're in pretty good shape there. That's what was said on CBS. Oh, talking about his 70% accuracy. Okay. Yeah. Chris G says besides the secondary. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to compare. At that point now we're comparing apples and oranges, right? But they are. Sam Pittman said they're too deep at every position in the secondary. That is really good to hear. Now, again, talking to Otis last week and talking to some other people that I've been fortunate enough to talk with in the DMs, they're not completely sold on what's going on in the secondary. So I might put running back ahead of DBs, but again, you're not wrong. Sam Pittman did say they are too deep at every position in the secondary, which is nice. So, yeah, again, remember, if you guys have any questions, please fire away, and we'll do the best that we can to answer them. As you guys can see the banner down below, Stephen Hamner, QB Spotlight, is with us. Let's get this banner here. I got to – boom, there we go. There's the PT and sponsor banner. Direct service overhead, give them a call today, 501-244-3667. They offer same-day services. They do a little bit of everything for you. If you know someone that's in this line of work, I guarantee you direct service overhead is better. These guys are legit. Better than best results, hundreds of 5-star reviews, affordable outcomes, quality parts, free estimates. Again, give them a call today at 501-244-3667. Shout out to Travis Ford. Coach said it was too deep at every position. Yeah, he did. I've heard it kind of mentioned before that they're good at too deep, right? You feel pretty confident when you hear Coach say that, but there's still a question about what exactly is happening in the secondary. But again, you've got, McLaughlin, you've got Brini who transferred in when you lost Brooks and Fouché. You feel pretty good. And I've said this multiple times. I feel like you've actually upgraded in the secondary. So they are in really good shape. You already read that. I'm reading it again, Chris. That's what my sponsors want me. That's what they want. They want their boy representing, and that's what I do. You sound like a salesman. I did once work in marketing. All right. Moving on. Boop, boop, boop. Let me find my there we go. Interview prep. Let's talk about real quick. And again, we're going to hit on Treylon Burks. Is he first round? What does Stephen Hammer think about Treylon Burks? But let's move on to KJ Jefferson, the guy that Malachi Singleton could one day be replacing. We've heard a lot about him being a dark horse Heisman candidate. We have seen that. We've seen several national known media folks put him somewhere either on the outside looking in as a Heisman candidate, floating around there somewhere a lot of people he's making their top 10 list. Some people he's left completely out, but I think you and I both would disagree with that. But in your own opinion, let's be real here. Arkansas's only ever had a Heisman candidate once in the school's history, and he was a candidate twice, and he got gypped on at least one of those two tries. Some would argue both, and that was, of course, Darren McFadden, who was runner-up back-to-back years. In your opinion, is KJ Jefferson, does he belong in that conversation, and where would you put him at? I know it's too early, and I'll just preface it as that. It's too early, but where would you put him? Does he belong in that conversation?
I think talent-wise, potential-wise, and just for the sake of off-season talk-wise, yeah, you got to throw him in there, right? You can't just talk about three guys. But like you mentioned, as far as like how realistic is that, Darren McFadden is probably the best player. I'm not an Arkansas fan, but one of the best players in Arkansas history, right? And so the fact that that guy is the only one that's been in serious contention about it, the odds aren't in KJ's favor, right? You got to beat Bryce Young, who, again, Alabama is most likely going to be, if not undefeated, close to being undefeated by the end of the season. You got CJ Stroud from Ohio State, who's going to be very similar to Alabama, maybe pushing a run for the national championship. You're going to have to make like the playoffs, I feel like, for the most part, to be in serious contention for the Heisman. And I don't get involved too much with the Heisman vote, and I really don't keep up with the Heisman all that much. But just like looking back at what has happened, I can only think of what Tim Tebow, they went 8-4, 9-4 when he won the Heisman. Johnny Manziel, they were 11-2 or so when he won the Heisman. You really have to be on a team that's going to compete for a national championship or put up just like stupid numbers, right? Which KJ could do. And he could put up stupid numbers and still not be in contention for it, right? So I think the talent potential is there, but with how the Heisman voters vote, and I don't even know if Heisman voters watch all the games, I would probably say it's not super realistic, not because the talent's not there or the potential to put up big numbers isn't there, just based off Arkansas could go 9-3 and have a really good year, and KJ could put up huge numbers. And because they're 9-3 and not in the playoff contention, the way the Heisman voting it happens right now, then he's probably not even going to get a realistic shot. So talent-wise, yes. Realistic-wise, based off how people vote, probably not. But I'm interested to see your thoughts. You're probably more dialed in with the Heisman committee than I am. So
I think you're right. I don't know if I can add a whole lot more to that. That's probably pretty accurate. I do think you're going to have to be – you're going to need either Bryce Young to have a not so great year, right? He's going to have to definitely take a step back. You're going to need all those guys that you just mentioned to take a step back. Those teams are going to have to lose some games. And I'm not going to lie to you, my too early poll, I would absolutely have Alabama number 1 in the country. And that's not just because they're Alabama. I was doing a breakdown on them, in fact, just last week. I don't know how Bryce Young takes a step back. I mean, they've lost some talent here and there, but my goodness, what they have added. And they didn't lose as much as you would think. Alabama is going to be very upperclassmen this year. A lot of returning experience on both sides of the ball, and that's always a recipe for even more disaster than what Alabama is capable of doing. Now you've got those 4 and 5 stars with a couple of years under their belts. So Bryce Young probably at the moment feels like a shoe-in, right? You know, I'm not going to go down every single name, but there are a couple of guys that absolutely stand out on some other programs. KJ will have to overachieve. He'll have to overachieve, and the Razorbacks will have to win games. And like you said, that's what it boils down to. I do think they're going to probably need to be – it could be a wicked combination of like ridiculous numbers, total yardage, right? We know it's a run first. Really what the veer and shoot is, it's a power run offense at the end of the day. They run way more than they pass the ball. So his total numbers are going to have to be ridiculous. If you're sub 10 wins, if you're 9 wins, well, he needs to have well over probably 4,000 total yards of production, probably somewhere in the 35 plus touchdown category, maybe higher than that. Now, if you win 10 games, obviously the stats, you might be able to kind of bounce them out a little bit. Definitely going to have to add on to what he did a year ago. And the question right now is, okay, can he do it without Treylon Burks? And a lot of people will argue that, well, Treylon Burks bailed KJ out. Well, I could also make the argument that a lot of, I would say 70+% of his throws that were completed to Burks were right where they needed to be. And that's a lot of high percentage throws. I think you're right. I think they're going to have to put up some ridiculous numbers, and probably be in the 10+ win category. Now, if you're a playoff contender, and look, if you're at 10 wins, I guess at that point it depends on who you've lost to, right? And what those other teams have done. Maybe some teams got injured, and as the year went on, they fell down and they lost a couple of games they shouldn't have lost. All of a sudden, you're a playoff contender with 10 wins. And it all has to do with what the rest of the league does, what the rest of the AP top 10 schools do with their best talent on the offensive side of the ball. It all depends on how that all shakes down. But yeah, KJ is going to need some people to take a little bit of a step back, and the Arkansas Razorbacks are going to have to outperform expectations. I think you're spot on. Someone had a question. Austin Foster says KJ have to hit 3,000 yards in the air and 1,000 on the ground with 30+ I agree 110%. Absolutely. Mr. T-Dub, he says KJ will need 11 wins to get the invite to New York, as well as arcade numbers. It could be the case. I mean, Arkansas's, let's just face it, man. We all have a chip on our shoulder for good reason. We feel like we have to really overachieve to get everybody's recognition. We know Darren McFadden, we kind of felt that way with him, and he still didn't win the Heisman. So yeah, I think there's a legitimate argument, and like Steven pointed out here, You're going to probably need some guys to take a little bit of a step back. They're going to have to not do as well or do about what they're expected to do, and Arkansas is going to have to rise above expectations. Off topic here, Lee Donovan wants to know, and this is honestly a good question. I'm kind of glad he asked this. It is off topic. It's not Razorback related, but it is SEC related. What is your take on the LSU quarterback battle? I'm curious on this.
That's a good question. That's one that kind of hits close to home. Not sure how many people know, but I got some Cajun in my blood, so I got some people at LSU. Yeah, I know this probably doesn't make Arkansas fans happy. I got Arkansas in my blood too, but with family. But anyways, I digress. So LSU quarterback competition. I don't know if anyone watched the spring game. I take everything with a grain of salt with the spring game, but no one really kind of stood out as far as like separating themselves. I think the candidates. Let's go through the candidates real quick, right? We got Jaden Daniels, the transfer from Arizona State. We got Miles Brennan, the 6-year senior who's been there for a while. Garrett Nussmeier, redshirt freshman, started 2 games. I think he played against Arkansas, actually. He was the quarterback that played a good amount of snaps against Arkansas, if I'm not mistaken, last year. And then you got Walker Howard, a huge recruit, incoming freshman. I think Howard's definitely the future. He's a legit stud, but I don't think he's going to start off the season. So I'm kind of narrowing it down to 3 guys, and they all have different qualities. Jaden Daniels has that big playability. He's a good athlete. He can run. Had a great freshman season at Arizona State, then kind of struggled the past few years. Some of that was probably COVID related, coaching staff going on. I mean, it was a mess, right? So it's not all on him, but he has to be probably a bit more consistent as opposed to his big playability. And what you saw in the spring game was he would take off and run when his first read wasn't there. And that could be because he had so much pressure when he was at Arizona State, right? So you have Jaden Daniels, big playability. Miles Brennan, more of your consistent, kind of reliable quarterback. You know what you're getting. Has a big arm, but not going to risk it. And the limited playing time that he's had, he's only started like 3 games, even though he's been in college for forever. But he got injured in 2020, then injured in 2021. Those 3 games he started off, he put up some pretty big numbers. Then you got Garrett Nussmeier, who was kind of the wild card. Initially, people were thinking Daniels or Brennan, but Garrett Nussmeier played best in the spring game and has a little bit of everything. Has some Johnny Manziel-ish. I hate saying that, so cliche, but he's able to run around a little bit and make some plays. He's able to run too, and then he has a good arm, can push it downfield. He had a really good play against Arkansas last year, actually, where he scrambled out of the pocket, threw a Johnny Manziel-type pass for a touchdown. But he looked the best of the spring game. Take it with a grain of salt. I've got no idea who's going to win that competition. I'm glad I don't have to make the decision. I would like to get paid the type of money Brian Kelly gets paid, but I don't have to make. I'm glad I don't have to make the decision. But yeah, so those are kind of your leading horses, in my opinion, kind of like what they bring to the table. If I had to guess, I would guess Garrett Nussmeier. I'm just going to throw out the wild card, but again, I've got no feel who's ahead. But those are kind of my take on each guy.
There you have it. Don't hold it against him, okay? Don't hold it against him. No corn dog jokes, all right? Keep it clean. No corn dog jokes. Yeah, Jaden Daniels, Miles Brennan, Garrett Nussmeier. I think those are all 3 guys that are capable of doing something special for LSU. A lot of changes there, as we know, with Ed Orgeron out the door. Singleton, Wilson Wood, going back to Singleton really quick. Singleton is a bigger and stronger Kyler Murray. That's an interesting. Okay, he's definitely bigger, and I think his arm strength. Watching his film, I was really impressed, and we'll go back to him for just a second. His deep ball accuracy looked pretty smooth, Steven. It looked like he had a good ball placement deep downfield.
Yeah, absolutely. I call that being like a mature thrower of the football, right? A lot of guys have big arms. Most guys can make every throw at this level. Like, let's be honest, they all have guns. But being a mature thrower and having feel on your passes is what separates you. So you can kind of see some back shoulder throws, keep sitting guys in zone, not leading them into a DB. And I think he's pretty accurate. Kyler Murray is an interesting comparison. That guy is just such a freak athlete, man. I kind of like a Russell Wilson comparison, a little bit bigger than Russell Wilson, but Wilson's a pretty big guy, 5'11", 215, has an absolute rocket. Wilson's obviously got a better arm right now, but there's definitely some fun comparisons. I don't even really compare him to KJ. I think they do similar things, but they're also different, right? And they have different body types too, which isn't a bad thing. And they can both run the same system, equally well potentially if Singleton develops. But yeah, Kyler Murray is a fun comparison. We could probably go on and on about different comparisons.
Yeah, kind of our Marco Polos. I know we've talked a little bit about Malachi, but we talk a lot about KJ. I know you're really high on KJ, so whoever takes his spot, assuming he leaves, boy, those are some big shoes to fill. Because I kind of feel like I haven't put out my too early expectations yet. If everything goes according to plan at wide receiver, and I know that's the big question. I still got questions about left tackle, like what's really going on there. I'm starting to find myself agreeing with the people that believe that Trey Knox is going to be the complete package at tight end. He's put on the weight. My gosh, I think they've got him at 6'5", 240. If you would have told me 250, I would have believed it. I mean, he looks the part, and he can pop. And Otis Kirk brought that up when we had him here last week. He can pop. He can knock some people on their rears, and we know the tight end position has a really big role in that department in this veer and shoot and what they're able to do as far as from a blocking standpoint. So, whoever takes the spot over for KJ, they've got some big shoes to fill. And I feel like this year is going to be a special year for KJ. I'm not saying he's going to make the Heisman. I'm not saying he's going that far. But I kind of agree with the dark horse Heisman. I kind of agree with that he belongs in that range as someone who belongs maybe on the extended version of that list. I think he could end up there. So we'll just have to wait and see. Mr. T-Dub with the super chat. Let's get that up on the screen. It's covering our faces. I'm going to duck down here. Bo Nix looked awesome. And I think he will be a top 10 quarterback this year at Oregon. Rattler looked terrible. And I think we will see why he was benched at OU. You got a take on that, Steven?
I'm just imagining. I don't know if we give away who I'm just imagining his voice as he's talking about this and saying this. So I got a few good question. I got a few thoughts with the spring game. I take everything with a grain of salt. From what I've heard, at one point, Ty Thompson at Oregon was actually getting more reps with the ones than Bo Nix, whatever that means. And I'm not a reporter. I don't even know if that's true, right? But that's just kind of what I've been hearing, right? Maybe I shouldn't even say that. But I would agree. I would imagine Nix gets to start off the top. People like Ty Thompson, the quarterback at Oregon. He's a stud.
Yeah.
But bold claims, top 10. And then Spencer Rattler. I know a lot of South Carolina fans are really excited. They're super excited about him. That's great. They haven't had a quarterback that can, give them some sustainability in a little while. And I've got some South Carolina people I communicate with and talk with. They're super excited. I think he's an upgrade. I think he's above average quarterback. I think there's probably too much hype on him being a 5-star at Oklahoma. And maybe that was just the recruiting rankings fault, right? But I think the fact that he can push the ball downfield and can fit the ball into some tight windows is something South Carolina hasn't had. So even if he's average, I think that's an upgrade. I'm not going to go and say he's going to be fantastic. I won't go and say he's going to be horrible. We'll wait and see. But I do think potential is there for an upgrade.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's a little bit of there's a lot of hype. And I think fans here kind of do the same thing with Jaden Hazelwood, who's also from Oklahoma, 5-star prospect. I think some fans think, well, we're going to get that. That's going to translate for us. Now, last year, I think he led them. I think Hazelwood led OU in receiving touchdowns and I think total receptions. But it was like 36, 37 receptions. Didn't really translate onto the field. And that's nothing new. 5 stars often under-deliver. I don't know about more times than not. I guess that depends on the school. But, for Oklahoma, which is it's a quarterback wide receiver haven. We talk about Spencer Rattler and Jaden Hazelwood, and of course Crawford, who's on campus at Arkansas, who's a transfer a year ago. It's a haven for them. They lose these guys. It's no big deal. It's no real skin off their back. But pretty good gains for both schools, for Arkansas and South Carolina to get those two. I like Hazelwood. I like him a lot. I don't know that he's going to replace – I don't know that he's going to have the Treylon Burks type production or not. Katron Jackson, the sophomore out of Texas. I always forget where the heck he was out of in Texas, but he's a sophomore. He played a little bit last year. I think he was playing a little dinged up, but there's some promise. There's some promise for both these schools. For by the way, Arkansas plays South Carolina. What is that? Week 3? Someone help me out. They play them fairly early in the season. I haven't looked at the schedule in a minute, as if you couldn't tell. But that's going to be an interesting matchup between Arkansas and Spencer Rattler, and of course with Jaden Hazelwood, 2 former teammates. We have a $20 super chat. What do you think of OU and Shithorns? What do you think they do in the SEC? Oh man, they're gonna fit in nicely, aren't they?
Man.
Yeah, by the way, my chat can be pretty lively. Just FYI.
I dig it. No, I love it. Let's go. I think it's going to be very, very entertaining football. Texas football, I was telling someone this weekend, is, I don't know if there are any movie buffs here, but Texas football is like a dramedy, right? There's a bunch of drama and comedy, but it's so entertaining. You just can't get enough, right? There's always something going on. You can't get enough of Texas football. But I mean, I live in Austin. I got some, I won't go into detail, but some, I think they can be better than people think. It's just, you have to be clicking on the right cylinders, right? That's been the biggest issue. Click on the right cylinders. You can be pretty damn good. You don't click on the right cylinders and you go 5-7, 5-7, 5-7. OU in a better situation right now. I guess we'll have to see what their new coach does. I don't know. What do you think, Ty? What do you take on all this?
Oh boy. I'm more concerned for Texas than I'm OU. I don't know. You just don't know what to expect, man. I really don't know what Texas does. They absolutely have the ability to recruit anybody they want out of the state of Texas for the most part. Now, A&M has kind of ruined that to some degree since they joined the SEC, a decade ago or so. It's just too tough to tell right now. It's just too early. I guess we'll find out. I mean, when is that supposed to happen? 2024, 25? So we have a little bit, yeah. I guess. Maybe they'll get it panned out, but they have the talent, Steven. They've got the talent, for crying out loud. Yeah. I mean, no, what is the deal down there? I just don't know.
Yeah. Who wouldn't like Austin? Who wouldn't want to live in Austin if you're a college kid? I mean, Austin is fantastic. You got everything you want in Austin. But I don't know. You got to play football too. So
it's true. I mean, plenty of schools have the talent. Florida had the talent. LSU had the talent, right? Auburn has been they're pretty much, they've got the talent. Not quite what Alabama and LSU and Florida get, but they're close, right? They're usually in that top 10, top 15, although I think recently the recruiting classes have kind of suffered, but historically, Auburn does pretty well recruiting. Yeah. They struggle, and I never would imagine it would be this long, and we're still waiting on the Horns. Although, hey, we're fine with it here. We're absolutely fine with them sucking, and we love kicking the hell out of them in Fayetteville. So I'm all for them sucking, and they can continue to suck, and I really hope we get our opportunity to play them when they join the conference. If they're doing these pods, if they're doing these bubbles, give them. We want every bit of the Longhorns, Steven. We want to kick some ass. That's what we want to do. We hate the Longhorns here. So just kind of is what it is.
Hey, no argument from me. I'm neutral. I'm Switzerland. So
there you go. Although they're not neutral anymore, right? Didn't they pick sides? T-Dub says in 10 years, QB Spotlight will be a D1 quarterback coach or NFL QB coach, and Ty will own Hog Media. Screenshot this, folks. That's
kind.
No pressure. No pressure. My bad, Ty. Don't even apologize, DC. You know we love it. Eagle says revive a very hate-filled rivalry. Absolutely. New commit dad was throwing the horns down. He absolutely was. Singletary's dad was throwing the horns down. You had to love it. Ty, I was at the baseball game last night. Incredible atmosphere. Oh, okay. Down in down Little Rock, Jacob. Did you have a good time? I've never been down there. I've never been to that stadium. Or they barely beat UCA. Oh, beat them by a run in extra innings. Arkansas baseball is kind of hard to gauge right now. I think their timely hitting is just it's not a lot of clutch hitting and not a lot of timely hitting. And we saw that in game 1 and 2 just this last weekend. Game 3, much better performance at the plate, but where was that game 1 and 2? All right, the final question. And if you guys have anything, remember, Super Chat always takes priority. But if you have anything for Stephen Hamner, please let me know. But we're going to talk about Treylon Burks. Now, I know people are going to complain. It took you too long to get to Treylon Burks, to the subject matter of the video. Cry me a river, okay? You guys, a lot of you know how this goes. We get to that point in the show when we get to it. And I made it the last part for a reason, because I think this could be a pretty good conversation. So, Treylon Burks, I'd like your thoughts on him as a potential NFL prospect, where you think he goes in the draft. And then, well, I'll tell you what, let's just start there, because I have a couple other follow-up questions. I'll just let you start there. Just your thoughts on him as a prospect. Where do you think what do you think he does in the draft, and so on and so forth?
Well, I know where you want him to go. I know you would love if the Rams draft him, but maybe that's potential. So to be honest, I'm not huge into like knowing the NFL's team's needs and this and that. But as far as the talent goes, I feel like he's a first round talent, and he's versatile in the fact that he can probably fit into any system, right? Now, there's probably people that have a better gauge on what certain teams run than I do. I just don't keep up with the NFL all that much. The one thing I'll say with Burks for sure is, in my opinion, I think it would be vital and important just for his development to go to a team that already has an established guy, not just a good number one, but like an absolute dude that already has a good culture, already has a good environment, so he can go in and learn and develop and not have to feel the pressure of being the guy the ball's thrown to every single play like he was at Arkansas. Now he's able to go learn a little bit. He's able to watch how the professional goes about things, how the Pro Bowler goes about things, whatever it may be. You could say that from a lot of positions, but I think receiver particularly, you see a lot of guys that succeed in college based off of athleticism and just being better than the DB. When they get to the NFL, like, you better run some damn good routes. Like, you better be crisp in your routes. You better know what covers the defense is running, so when you have those option routes, you know where to go. So I think that's why it's important just to get in a good system that has a good receiver that is able to show him the ropes and go about that. So I know it wasn't the exact question, but I think going to a team that has instilled an instilled culture and has an instilled receiver at that number one position that that Burks can be groomed in.
Well, so you kind of answered like all my questions right there. So that's it. That's a wrap. Thanks a lot, everybody. This is Pig Trail Network. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, as far as him going to the Rams don't have a first round pick. I don't know. I'll be real. I don't think they need him. I think they're in good shape. I mean, if he's there, I'd kind of, there's a couple other positions I'm hoping they kind of take a look at. Left tackle, Do they go and draft maybe another safety? There's some questions for the Rams, but I've seen him projected anywhere from the Redskins, which, would be cool. He'd join another former Razorback, Cam Curl, which would be really cool to see those two guys on that roster. I've seen him listed to where was the big one? Green Bay. I've seen Green Bay mentioned. Mel Kiper put out his list, and I just had that pulled up. Of course, I don't have it. Give me a second. Let me find that. Mel Kiper had him outside the top 25, but it looks to me like, Cardinals. Cardinals beat that New York Met ass. Unfortunately, the Mets took the series 2 out of 3, but 10-5 Cardinal win, by the way, for the Cardinal fans in chat. But let me pull that up. Hang on. We'll get it. Mel Kiper, I think, put him at about 28th, 29th. I'm not sure about Todd McShay. Oh, no, here we go. Here's Todd McShay's. Let's pull this up really quick. I would share my screen, but I'm not sure how to do it with this app. So I apologize. But let's see. Scrolling down. They have Drake London. A lot of people big on Drake London, the receiver. And I'm not going to lie. I like him too. 6'4", 220. Big dude. He's graded out really high. I like him a lot, honestly. If he has him going as the 11th pick. But Chris Olave, wide receiver at Ohio State. He's got him has him going at 15th. Scrolling down here. Malik Willis at 21st. I'm kind of curious about Malik Willis. Treylon Burks, 24th pick. And this is according to McShay, 6'2", 225. He's got a grade at 89. Burks spent a high percentage of snaps in the slot, projects as a good mismatch weapon in that role in the NFL. As a route runner, he's more smooth than sudden. He does a great job of locating soft spots in zone and gains a lot of late separation by shielding defensive backs with his big frame. He has some tightness getting in and out of his breaks and won't threaten with acceleration off the line of scrimmage, which I think that's pretty accurate, if I'm being honest. He has big hands, flashes the ability to pluck on the run, and shows good body control to adjust. Burks excels after the catch, where he's a pursuit angle destroyer with acceleration and long stride. I think that's honestly think that's a pretty good breakdown. I kind of thought during the season, he was a little slow, off the line. He was a little slow off the line of scrimmage. But then when you watch him, the infamous Alabama film that's been shown over and over and over, where he gets the ball and he splits the defenders. And if you watch, he zooms by him. He pulls away. So there's no doubt. I think what Todd McShay here said was pretty accurate. Ash wants to know, what offense do you think Burks fits in best with? Ash says, I've seen Chiefs.
Man, I just don't know the NFL personnel to probably have a good answer. You'd probably know that better than me, Ty.
I think the Chiefs would be a good spot. I really think he kind of strikes me as the kind of receiver that he's not just a slot receiver. He could line up outside. Right. I think he could line up just about anywhere. That's my only disagreement with a lot of people who say he's a slot only receiver in the league. I think that's wrong. I think you can line him up just about anywhere. I could see the Chiefs. I could see Green Bay. Anybody run the short route West Coast offense anymore? The old Mike Martz system. I think he could fit just about anywhere in the league. I don't know that there's any one place, where he wouldn't fit in at. Obviously he excelled in the RPO. I mean, now that's more of a nod to KJ probably more than anything, but he fit in that offense pretty well. The question I get a lot is, does he need to go somewhere where there's an already established quarterback? And there might be some truth to that. I'm not really sure. Cough, cough, 49ers. No. He is not allowed to go to San Francisco. He's not allowed, okay? If he goes to the Niners, I'm going to be pissed. I'm going to be mad if he goes to the Niners. That is illegal. No. I don't like that Dre Greenlaw's there, by the way. I don't like it. I'm happy for him, but I don't like it. Ash says, I've heard Malik Willis, one of the one of the biggest booms or bust in the draft and wanted to know your opinion on him. I don't know enough. Steven, have you done much of a breakdown on him, on Malik Willis out of Liberty?
Yeah, I like Malik Willis. He was someone last year that I put out. I think he's a first round type of guy. And I think with how quarterbacks, like with the salary quarterbacks make, even rookie quarterbacks, like even if guys are busts, it's worth taking a first round pick, because it's not like the Sam Bradford days or whatever where first round picks could make 70 million. Now it's whatever the slot is, right? You have a maximum that they can make, and so if you miss on a quarterback, well, shoot, there goes X amount of million down the drain. But if you hit on him, then you are getting more than your value. So yeah, I think he's definitely worth a first round pick and see what happens. Go in, get developed, and rock and roll. But I like Malik Willis. Potential is off the charts. So now it's just, can someone go in and develop? But yeah, I do like Malik Willis.
I only watched a little bit on him. I've seen highlights. I've seen them talk about him on NFL Network. I've seen the ESPN guys, the draft guys, talk quite a bit about him. I just don't know enough about him to give a strong opinion on him, but he looks exciting. I don't know who you'd compare him to, but he's fast and looks like he makes good decisions outside of the pocket. He's got great pocket awareness. He's a willing runner, but he's also a willing thrower. He's willing to go through his progressions. But that's just what little I've seen. I don't know that he's always made great decisions. I don't know that he's always made perfect reads. I don't even know his stats, but I do know that he's highly thought of, and seems pretty unanimous that people believe he's going to be a top 20 pick. We've also seen guys like this fall completely out of the first round, but I don't see that happening with Malik. I think with the amount of publicity, very positive publicity that he's had from the media, from the national media type, from the NFL media people, it sounds to me like he's a lock somewhere in the top 15, top 20, top 22, somewhere in there. So, all right. Well, if you have any questions, speak now or forever hold your peace, or at least until the next time I have Steven on. We're making good time here. We're just under 53 minutes. I've heard crazy things. Go ahead.
Wasn't there a question that popped up from old Mr. T-Dub?
Let me see here. Did I miss one?
I could have sworn we were talking about. Yeah, there you go.
Back to Singleton. Can Mississippi come in and beat our Hornsby year one? I'm not sure what he's asking. Is he saying Ole Miss come in and beat him?
I think he's saying can MS beat Malachi Singleton, right? The initials, can he come out and beat Hornsby?
My bad. Malachi, for whatever reason, it's completely slipped to the back of my brain already. I've already moved on. That's a good question, actually. I'll post that back up. That's actually a really good question.
Man, it's just so hard for a true freshman to come in, even if it's like he's got so much potential. Like there are only so many Trevor Lawrences, right? Sometimes we get spoiled by them, but definitely could. But if Hornsby, his fourth year in the program? I mean, this is hard for me to imagine unless Hornsby doesn't take grass this year. I mean, you probably have a better read on this than I do.
As a true freshman, odds are pretty low. I would say no, just simply because Malik Hornsby's been in the system. He's still QB2 at the moment. There's a legitimate question as to whether, again, like we talked about earlier, does he get moved out to wide receiver, and is that a permanent fix? I don't think so. For now, this could change. We'll find out more. We'll find out more by the end of fall camp or after he's played a couple of games. I'm sure we'll see him out there pretty soon, especially when he got Cincinnati in week 1. If they've got something designed for him, we'll see it, I think, against Cincinnati. So then the question is how much does he excel as a wide receiver? And then you have to ask, can he come in? Can Malachi come in and beat the guys that have also been here for a little bit, Cade Fortin and oh my gosh, the other Cade. There's two Cades. Cade Fortin and
Renfro, right?
Renfro. Yeah. Can he come in and beat those guys out? And by the way, Renfro, when I watched him in last spring practice, not this year, but last year, he had a pretty good arm and he looked pretty good. And myself and a couple other Hog fans that were sitting over there, we were there. I think it was either you had the red-white scrimmage, which was the third and final scrimmage, and then there was the second scrimmage. I went to the final two, and I don't remember which one. He looked pretty dadgum good. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I thought he looked pretty impressive, and thought that coming into this year, of course, at that point we didn't realize he'd get hurt, of course, but I thought he could push. I really thought he could push Hornsby. And of course, he goes down. Now he's out with a pretty serious injury, and he's going to have to miss time. So now the question is, what about Cade Fortin, who will have, I believe, another year's worth of eligibility, assuming he doesn't transfer for the 14th time. But, a lot of questions. I think right now I would argue that Malik Hornsby is going to be the guy, unless he just blows up at wide receiver, which is possible. And then, of course, you still got the two Cades, Fortin and Renfro. And both those guys, too, by the way, are a little bit bigger. They've been in the system for a little bit longer. He's got a lot to overcome. I would say for right now, no, but let's take a look, 2 years down the road from now. Let's see where we're at, where the dust is kind of settled. And by that point, KJ's gone and moved on. So that's a good question, though. Just don't know until we know. What's Steven's Razorback hot take, bold prediction for the 2022 season? Oh, let's hear it.
Oh man, I'm so not hot takey. I'm so not bold predictions. I do know y'all's schedule is hard as hell. I do know that. Well, I got Cincy and out of conference. Who else do I have out of conference right now?
So you have Cincinnati, which that's going to be tough in and of its own. Even though they're replacing their quarterback, they're replacing their incredible secondary that they had. So they're replacing some pretty big pieces. So you got Cincinnati, Bobby Petrino at Missouri with Missouri State. Those are all Fayetteville games. And then you have which is the biggest question mark for me right now, at BYU. And then you got host on November 5th, Liberty. And that's a pretty tall order. So no one will hold it against you. No one will hold it against you if you're off. If you want to don't feel pressured if you want to give a too early guess on what Arkansas does.
I'll give a guess of 8-4. I don't know if that makes people happy or mad, but I'll give a guess of 8-4. I think it's pretty realistic, and you could probably be talked down to 7 or up to 9, depending on how things roll. But yeah, that's the early prediction, knowing who the out of conference is now.
Ash wants. I'm guessing this is aimed at me. Do you think we take 2 quarterbacks in this class, just Singleton and a transfer? Yeah, I think they're going to end up with 2. I've had that more or less repeated to me by a couple different people. They're going to end up probably, again, I hate to keep saying this and beating you guys over the head with it, but what KJ does matters. If he decides that he wants to return, which is possible, we got to remember these RPO quarterbacks sometimes get overlooked. And we're kind of told that, well, he was a part of a system that just exploited his ability to run the offense. We're not so sure he could translate that to the NFL. So that kind of leaves him with the option of coming back and maybe getting something else improving on, maybe his overall accuracy or passing or whatever. I'm not saying there's an issue. I'm just saying maybe that's something that he could hear from his coaches and whoever. Yeah, but they will. I'm assuming KJ's leaving. They're going to take Singleton, clearly. And then they're probably either going to take another quarterback in this class or they're going to go to the portal. So I've had that more or less confirmed. I mean, that's unless something drastically changes. And we got to remember, for the first time in I think it's been a decade, they didn't take a quarterback in that most recent, the last class, not this year's class, but last year's class. T-Dub. Now we get the questions rolling in. What is more important for a quarterback? Raw athletic ability, magic, magic intangibles or knowledge of the school system?
Mm. It's a good question.
It's all you.
If we're going, if we're going with this college quarterback, well, first and foremost, I think it'd be intangibles. I'm real big on intangibles of quarterbacks, like being able to have the locker room. Guys want to go fight for him. Offensive line want to block for him. Receivers want to catch for him. If he gets hit in the mouth, his O-line are getting a 15-yard flag because they're defending him, right? So I think intangibles are the most important thing, right? Is he confident? When he gets hit, does he talk trash, get back up and say, let's roll? So I think intangibles is numero uno. And then in college, I would say raw athletic ability. When you get to the NFL, it's not the school system, but the team system, knowledge of the team system. Because all these top NFL quarterbacks, for the most part, they make their throws in 2.5 seconds. The ball's out. So they have knowledge of the offense. They have knowledge of the defense, and the ball comes out, right? Like we talked about earlier, the top quarterbacks don't need play action or RPOs to set up a successful pass. They just need the rock. And so I think having knowledge of the system, the more you know, the more you're able to get the ball out quickly. And then, of course, it helps to be a freak athlete as well. So, yeah, I would say intangibles, numero uno, and then depending on college or pro will depend on the next two.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Again, that's definitely your area of expertise for sure. What Mike and them wants to know, what are your thoughts on KJ's accuracy? Last year, he never missed enough to get receivers in a bad spot, but did it seem like he was not one to throw them open?
Yeah, so I think I remember several throws of him throwing open receivers, right? Not just Burks, but I remember several throws that he's throwing open receivers. But with that said, I think there's a point with the RPO system. A lot of times you're scheming open guys, right? Like NFL systems, like the quarterback, you don't have a big window to fit the ball in a lot of times. These RPO schemes, a lot of times they scheme open receivers, so guys are schemed wide open. So maybe the opportunity to throw guys open isn't necessarily there. But I can think of some tight window throws of KJ throwing guys open from the Alabama game, the Ole Miss game, just giving guys a chance. But yeah, I would agree that within the system, there's going to be a lot more guys schemed open than KJ having to throw guys open.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else? I'll give you guys a second here to respond. Make sure you like the stream. We had close to like 60 people in here. We've got single-digit likes. Let's get the likes up. I know you could do it. Let's be real. Record doesn't indicate how good a team is, especially in the SEC. So I wouldn't be mad with 8-4, depending on how we look. Yeah, that's a good take. I will say I love this format. By the way, Ty, I like seeing the comments. Yeah, I like it too. There's just some things that hold me back. I can't share, which I mean, for someone like Steven and I, that's a big deal, being able to share. So it's left completely up to you guys to share this content. I have no way of doing that. That's the only downer. So, and also I can't attach a thumbnail. I have to wait till we're done till I attach a thumbnail. If you look at it, it's just that placement, the pig trail wallpaper. So I'm I like it, but at the same time, like, it kind of sucks because it limits me a little bit. But as far as being able to do interviews, I think I pay $25 a month for it. Not a bad deal, if I'm being real. It's really helpful. Cade wants to know, will KJ throw fewer interceptions than he did last season?
How many did he have? 4 last year? Did he have 4 last year? Is that right?
I think it was 3.
I know Hendon Hooker had 3. I want to say
no, it was 4. You're right. It was 4.
Okay.
My bad.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh man, 4 is not a lot. I'm gonna say he has more, but just because he has more doesn't mean it's bad. He could have 5, right, and still have a really damn good year. Even with 6 or 7, it could be a damn good year. So I'm gonna say that 4 to 6 range. Well,
his KJ's numbers, get it pulled up here. My internet's acting a little weird. 198 he completed 198 out of 294, 2,600 yards, 67% completion ratio, 21 passing touchdowns. He was sacked 27 times, a rating according to ESPN at 164.7, just 4 interceptions. I don't know if they throw the ball more this year or not. I mean, that's the question. I just don't know. Kendall likes to run the ball, and he loves doing it on first down. I swear. I think my neighbor and I, Alex, who's Cricks in our Discord, we said we made a bet. Well, not a bet, but we were out back on we have our table. We fashioned it into a fable. So the table or the fence leans down and it becomes a table. So we're back there drinking beers and having a good time watching the Hogs. And I said, every time they run on first down, let's take shots. I think, and we didn't do it. Thankfully, we didn't, because we would have been torched by the end of the first quarter. They run the ball a lot, so I don't know if we're going to see more run plays versus passing. But obviously, if you're throwing the ball more, and he's still hovering around 65, north of 65% completion on his passes, you're still probably going to throw some more picks. Obviously, when you throw the ball more, there's more opportunities for it to get picked. And now he doesn't have Treylon Burks to throw to. So then there's that. How often does his receivers on 50-50 balls, how hard do they fight for those 50-50 balls? And are they going to get beat out and those plays end up resulting in picks? There's a lot of plays you have to put under a microscope. And so often, and Steven can speak to this, we blame the quarterback when in fact the receiver runs a wrong route or they don't fight hard for a 50-50 jump ball. You don't have that now with Burks. I think Knox is pretty good as a 50-50 jump ball guy, but he's playing tight end. He's going to be on the short routes. He's going to be on the shorter end of those routes. He's going to be more of a check down target. Maybe some crossing routes here and there with the slot receiver or something. But there's a lot of questions coming into or going into the offseason and getting ready for summer camp and then fall camp. Do they try to fashion themselves into more of a little bit more balanced attack? Do they try to throw the ball more? It wouldn't shock me. Look, he threw the ball 294 times. Altogether, Arkansas threw the ball 314 times. I want to say that was bottom 4 in the SEC. I think it was right behind Tennessee or somebody. I could see them trying to open it up more, and then could also see interceptions. Wouldn't shock me if he doubled, if he had 8 picks, if they do that. But I think he's a pretty accurate thrower, and he's got big-bodied receivers. He's got Jaden Hazelwood, who has a knack for 50-50 balls, and a pretty decent route runner, right? Warren Thompson, if he could learn to hold on to the damn ball, he could be a solid big-bodied target. Obviously, the bigger they are, the wider their catch range, bigger hands, their catch radius is much larger, and you don't have to worry as much about those interceptions. But, yeah, I'm with Steven here on this one. All right, we're probably going to make this the last question. Comes from Mr. T-Dub. If Big Air KJ stays another year, Hornsby will almost certainly transfer, but that means Singleton will get 1 year under KJ. Is that a good trade? I'll let you.
I would say it's a fair trade. I mean, I would say either or, right? I don't know. It's a good question. Yeah, I would say it's a fair trade. Yeah, I don't know. I'll say fair trade. I'm gonna stay pretty even keel here and say fair trade.
I guess it just depends on what Malik Hornsby does this year. I mean, I don't know. I really don't, because Malik Hornsby's skill set, you and I both know that dude. I mean, he's just a pure athlete. Malachi is too, but he doesn't have that kind of speed. Although I would say he looks to be further ahead as a complete quarterback than either Malik or KJ in high school at that age. I'll go ahead and say that. I think he's a little bit ahead of those guys as a junior going into his senior year of high school. Doesn't mean he has a higher ceiling. Doesn't mean I think he comes in as a freshman and blows the doors off the hinges. I'm not saying that. But again, that's just listening to what people have to say, who's scouted him, that's listening, that's reading articles, that's eyeballs on his videos, comparing it to KJ and what people were saying. Of course, Malik Hornsby had quite the reputation as well. in high school, but I think Malachi Singleton, maybe even at least in the passing game, seems to be a little bit ahead of where KJ and Hornsby were at that age, 16, 17 years of age. I think it's a good question. I'm going to say, I hate to do it, but I'm going to say I don't know. We're going to have to wait and see till the end of the year. So I'm not really sure. What are the chances that Malik goes full-time to wide receiver? I don't know, Cade. It's going to depend on – I think it's going to depend on his buy-in. That's just, again, that's something I just don't know. I'm not in the minds of Sam Pittman and Kendall and I just don't know. We'll have to wait and see, man. If they stick him there through fall camp, and again, he's just spectacular, right? The KJ to Malik Hornsby connection is something they want to see more of. It could become a possibility. I think it'll be one of those things as the year goes on. We'll kind of see him one way or another. He's either going to get more reps at wide receiver or less. So I think it's as the year goes on. Right now, I just don't know, but anything could happen. So, yeah. All right. That's going to do it. I do appreciate you guys, Patreon supporters. I apologize I couldn't get the screenshot up. That's another disadvantage of doing these. I don't have the ability, or if I do, I haven't figured it out yet on how to display all the Patreon supporters. But shout out to you guys. You know who you are. I appreciate each and every one of you. To our guest, Stephen Hamner from QB Spotlight, as always, it's a blast. Thank you for taking time for us, man.
Absolutely. I'm always happy to hop on.
Yeah, it's always good times. Always a lot of fun. So yeah, we'll I'm trying to do my best at this stuff with StreamYard. It's a different animal. I'm not gonna lie to you, it's a little bit different than just OBS and using YouTube, but really like that we're able to do this, and I'm really enjoy these conversations. I love our Marco Polo conversations. I watch, you and our mutual friend, I love sitting down, smoking a cigar and listening to you guys. To live chat, thank you guys so much. And of course to Direct Service Overhead, the show's sponsor. Shout out to Travis Ford and the boys. I appreciate everything you guys do for the channel. So that's it. Woo Pig, and I'll see you guys probably on Friday. We'll discuss, we'll get ready for baseball that weekend a little bit, and we'll talk about where Treylon Burks went in the draft. So until next time, woo Pig, suey, go Hogs. Now, how do I turn this damn thing off?